Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket, thanks to titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk and gold sponsor Podium. Welcome to Performance Hub with Dean Evans.
Whispering Loudly is the Workshop Whisperer podcast with the #1 business coach in the auto aftermarket in Australia and New Zealand. I'm producer Mel, and we'd just like you to take a quick moment to screenshot this podcast and chuck it on your Facebook or Instagram stories or on your wall or whatever, and do a shout out to the Workshop Whisperer. If you pop us in your stories and tag us, we'll tag you back and give your brand a little bit of visibility, hey? So we're all here to help each other today, which is why we've got Dean Evans in with us. He's been helping a lot of people and you've been loving him on the podcast. So we've got him on a little bit more this season for Performance Hub, which is a new series to talk about performance aspects of your auto repair shop. Today we're talking about getting the team you want or getting the team you need. Hey Dean, welcome to the show.
Hey Rach, thanks for having me back again.
Excellent. We are so excited to bring the Performance Hub to life, getting even more of your expert insights and tips around what is required to be an elite business owner in our auto aftermarket. So tell us, I'm curious, what is it that we need to know about getting the team that we need?
Well, I've heard it said time and time again that you get the team you deserve, and I actually think that's a complete falsehood. Why? Because no one asked. You didn't set out to employ an inefficient or unproductive team member. You didn't set out to recruit a dishonest technician. You know what? Maybe in your personal life, you didn't set out to marry a narcissistic partner. You chose the best. You chose the best option available to you at the time. But over time, the individual, that the true nature of that individual reveals themselves to you. So when people say, you get the team you deserve, that's kind of like saying, you were walking down the street and someone punched you straight in the face because you deserved it. It's completely false. What we do get, though, is we get the team that we need to show us the areas that we need to grow in as a leader, as a manager, maybe as a partner as well. So when we look around, or you look around at the team that you've got, if there's individuals in that team and you don't feel that they're working to standard, or their behaviour is at an acceptable level for you, it's not because you deserve that. It's because they are reflecting for you, demonstrating to you the very skill, the very attitude, the very habit, the knowledge that you need to gain and glean in order to go and become the person who can go and address that situation, go and address that problem.
Yeah, because people can wear masks, can't they? And the person that you were, a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago, when you may have hired that person, when you may have been in a relationship or gone into a relationship with that person, somebody could have been wearing a mask and they've fooled you into believing that they were someone that they are not. But you can be a different person then too, with a different set of life circumstances, making different choices. So tell us more.
Well, every single one of us wears a mask, right? We talk about, we play various roles across our days, across our lives. In my case, a soon-to-be husband, father, brother, son, uncle, friend. These are all roles that we play. These are all characters, that we have as part of our persona. There's a fantastic book by a guy called Todd Herman called The Alter Ego Effect, right? It's a great read because we all have it. So the biggest person you'll ever fool, if you do not believe that you play roles or you have different characters, is yourself. So the one mask that we need to remove is our own mask. And what does that open us up to? Well, number one, it opens up to authenticity in terms of allowing us to explore for ourselves more of our capacity to lead, to manage, to grow, to give, by exposing to us our own flaws, those areas of ourselves or those areas of our role that we've actually been looking to deflect or distance ourselves from ever having to address. So what does a team do, right? The more we want to bury our head in the sand, and we all understand, right? If you stick your head in the sand, then you know where you're going to get kicked. It's pretty straightforward. So when you consider from inside the workshop, if you've got these individuals that are not performing to standard, they're not meeting expectation, if you're choosing to do nothing about that, that is a role that you're playing. It is a disempowering piece of yourself that you are not looking to address, right? You're accepting mediocrity. Not from the other person because they're just working in a way that they feel works for them, but you're accepting mediocrity from yourself as the leader of your auto repair shop because you are allowing that behaviour, that performance to go unaddressed and with no plan for improvement.
And you're also showing your team that you're accepting mediocrity, aren't you? And there's a loss of trust there.
Well, I've seen it happen over and over and over again. The poor performer stays and the good performers go because they see that nothing is being done about this individual. So they decide, well, you know what? Well, if they're working, less effectively than I am, then why the hell am I kicking my can as hard as I can? I'll just go somewhere else. So you're left with the problem, more of the problem, by not addressing the problem.
Avoid mistakes others are making and take your auto repair shop to the next level. To reach out, email admin@workshopwhisperer.com with the subject Workshop Whispers, and we'll answer your question in our next Workshop Whispers episode.
We see it time and time again with our clients. They may have hired someone in the past who is what we call an energy vampire. And, they have other names. They may have strong narcissistic traits, or we might call them a toxic team member. But some of the things that might show up is that they talk behind your back to the other team members. They're tardy with their attendance, their performance. Sometimes they're the best performer in terms of productivity and efficiency, or sometimes they're the worst performer and they're always got excuses, always trying to cover. And perhaps they're dishonest as well, whether that's with, charging out time or they might even be stealing. What is it that having somebody like that on our team that we hired, what's that there to teach us?
Well, number one is every single one of us, ourselves included, has made a bad hire. Every single one of us. Most interviews are like a Facebook profile. They look fantastic. And given that human beings are no different to any other energetic particle, i.e. we can rise to a higher energetic level, but we can't stay there. So we will come back to our natural resting state. And I found that's around the 3 to 6 month mark is when you'll see an individual's true working style. Okay. It's why induction processes are so important, but it's also why it's really, really important to have in your employment contracts, like break clauses. If it's not working for them or if it's not working for you, there's a period of time that everyone can shake hands and go their separate ways.
It's probably important to note here for you out there listening in Australia, obviously it's mandatory in Australia to have a 3-month probation period. But if you're saying that it could be up to 6 months before, somebody can actually wear their mask for up to 6 months before, they start to really show their true colours. In Australia, you do have the option of having a 6-month probation. So you may want to safeguard yourself and make all of your probationary periods 6 months.
Yeah, and it works for the other person as well. Like if they're too far in, they think, well, God, I can't leave now. Well, but if they're not inspired, if they're not motivated, if they don't feel connected to the business, their performance, stays pretty mediocre, pretty average. So it gives each party in the relationship, the employer and the employee, an opportunity to end that relationship amicably. But coming back to your question, what is it there to teach us? Well, number one, I want to say this. Everything around us is us. Okay? That is not to say that any one of us is to blame for our current set of circumstances, it is to say that every one of us has 100% responsibility for doing what needs to be done to improve the circumstances now so that we can build a brighter and better future. So no matter the situation with your team members, toxic or otherwise, whatever is occurring right now is not your fault. I worked out, many years ago that I guess one of the biggest, I'll say failings, I'll use that word because I just can't think of a better word right now. I think one of my failings when I moved into management was believing that I was responsible for other people's behaviour. I was not responsible for their behaviour. My responsibility laid in addressing the gaps in the behaviours they were showing and the behaviours that needed to be demonstrated. And so that was my role. That was one of the characters I needed to learn, was to go in and not attack the person for who they were, but go and attack the problem of the behaviour that they were demonstrating, right? Because behaviour is flexible. Who you are in each one of those characters, as we talked about before, each one of those roles, your behaviour changes depending on the character you're portraying at the time. So it's crafting, creating the traits, the characteristics, the attitudes that allow you to step into an uncomfortable situation, a difficult conversation, feeling capable and comfortable to have that conversation. And the combination of those two things, having the capacity, the capability to have that conversation, feeling comfortable, in your own skin to step and have the conversation, produces this thing that we know as confidence.
And I know that this is throwing up for me that, being a business owner, making the step from running a business, managing a business, to truly being a business owner, it's not easy. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot that you need to accept for yourself with your leadership to work on in order for you to be able to hold people accountable to a set of expectations and to have a team with a culture that is what you would like it to be, and a place where people would love to work rather than just turn up every day just for their pay packet. And I think it can be overwhelming for people listening to think, oh my God, I'll never be that leader, or that's so much work to do. What we're forgetting, and we've been talking about this off air, is that, your apprenticeship to become a technician, for instance, or for any trade, is about 4 years long. Yet you're just expecting that you will become the perfect business owner just because you own a business. It takes time, and logistically, it's probably going to take as much time as an apprenticeship for you to acquire the skills that you need if you're around the right people, you're asking the right people for the right advice, and particularly if you work with a coach.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
Well, I'm not sure about you or for anyone else listening to this, but I would love to hear from those of you who, when you finished your apprenticeship and then made the decision to open up your own auto repair shop, I'd love to know how many of you were given the manual on that first day of the steps you needed to take to run a profitable, scalable, sustainable workshop from day one. To the best of my knowledge, that document doesn't exist.
Well, it doesn't, and that's why the Workshop Whisperer exists.
Correct.
We know that because there is no manual, and that's why so many fall into overwhelm and so many struggle. If there was a manual that you were given on the day you became a tradesman for future use of, okay, when you're ready, here's how you run a successful business, that would obviously change the game. But in lieu of that, you need to keep seeking out, step after step after step, the next lot of work that you need to do for yourself that you can push through out to your team in order for a business to be successful.
Yeah, so let's bring this down to original question. You don't get the team you deserve, you get the team you need. Well, let's just substitute the word team for shop. You don't get the shop you deserve, you get the shop you need to show you the areas you need to grow. You got cash flow problems, that's showing you need to learn more about your numbers. And way too often do I hear, I'm just a mechanic. Well, no, the statement you have about yourself, the belief you have about your role will determine the quality of education that you seek. So you're not just a mechanic, you're a business owner. Part of the responsibility of being a business owner is not deferring responsibility for understanding your numbers to your accountant, to your bookkeeper. It's doing the work required to learn that skill so you can have an educated conversation with other individuals, accountant, bookkeeper, mentor, business partner, that makes sense for where you're at right now. So whether it's your finances, whether it's your training, whether it's your marketing, if that's not working as well as you would like, it's because that is occurring, because it's showing you, hey, this is the knowledge, this is the skills, this is the expertise you need to go and search for, seek out, and really cement your understanding of, because it's going to help to round out you as the leader of your business.
Take a smoko and review us on your Apple Podcast app or wherever you listen. Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple with Rachael Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk and gold sponsor Podium.